Welcome to the lecture on environmental monitoring classification. In this lecture, we will discuss types of environmental monitoring as well as subsystems and levels of environmental monitoring. After this lecture, you will be able to classify types of environmental monitoring, list subsystems and levels of environmental monitoring. There are different approaches to classification of environmental monitoring. According to the objects of observation, there are air, water, soil, climatic, biological and zoological types of monitoring. Monitoring is divided into remote and ground monitoring depending on the monitoring method. Remote monitoring is performed using aircraft and satellites equipped with special sensors and devices. Ground-based monitoring is carried out using physico-chemical and biological methods to study components of the natural environment. The following types of monitoring are classified by impact factors. Chemical monitoring studies chemical composition of natural and anthropogenic sources, atmosphere, precipitation, surface and underground water, soils, bottom sediments, vegetation, animals, and controls the dynamic of chemical pollutants distribution. The global task of chemical monitoring is to determine the actual level of environmental pollution. The next type of monitoring is physical monitoring. This is a system of observation of physical processes and their impact on the environment. And biological monitoring is performed using bioindicators. These are organisms whose presence, condition and behavior give an idea of changes in the environment. There are different subsystems of environmental monitoring, such as geophysical monitoring, which provides analysis of data on pollution of the atmosphere, oceans, land surface with rivers, lakes and groundwater. Climate monitoring controls and predicts changes in the climate system. Covers the part of the biosphere that affects climate formation, atmosphere, ocean and ice cover. Climatic monitoring is closely related to hydrometeorological observation. Next type of monitoring, biological monitoring, is based on observation of the reaction of organisms to environmental pollution. Monitoring of public health is a system of activities for monitoring, analysis and evaluation and prediction of public health. Environmental monitoring has several levels. There are background, impact and subject levels of monitoring. The background monitoring includes studies focused on identifying patterns of change in natural components and complexes. Background monitoring is aimed at determining the background state of the environment, which is necessary for further assessment of anthropogenic impact levels. Impact monitoring means observation, assessment and forecast of the natural environmental state in the areas where hazardous and potentially hazardous anthropogenic impact sources are located. Impact monitoring program may be focused, for example, on the study of power plants' emissions. Subject monitoring is the monitoring of specific natural components, objects, for example, forest or specially protected natural areas. There are also subsystems or levels of detailed, local, regional, national and global levels. The lowest level is the level of detailed monitoring, which is implemented within small areas. Then, detailed monitoring systems are combined into a larger network, for example, within a district. A local level monitoring system is formed. Local monitoring is aimed at assessing changes in the subsystem on a larger area, the territory of the city or district, for example. Local systems can be combined into larger regional monitoring systems covering the territories of regions or several of them. Such regional monitoring systems combine data from observation networks that differ in approaches, parameters, tracking territories and periodicity, and allow to make complex assessment of territories and give forecast of their development. Regional monitoring systems can be joined into a national monitoring network, forming the national level of the monitoring system. The task of integrating national monitoring systems into a single interstate network has been set in the framework of the United Nations Environmental Programme. This is the highest global level of environmental monitoring system organization. Its aim is to monitor changes in the Earth's environment and its resources on a global scale. So far, the creation of such a system is a task for the future, as many states still don't have their own national systems of environmental monitoring. The global system of environment and resources monitoring will be aimed at solving ecological problems with the whole Earth, such as global climate change, the problem of ozone layer, earthquake prediction, global desertification and soil erosion, floods, energy resource problems, and others. So, in this lecture, you have learned about classification of environmental monitoring, about subsystems and levels of environmental monitoring.